senior living industry is like a car dealership that does not buy the trade-in. So they sell cars all day long. They sell them, but they don't buy the trade-in. And what's happening is, think about the car dealership industry. If they stopped buying trades today, would people stop buying new cars? No. Would it slow the whole dang process down tremendously?
Yes.
Yeah, because I can't buy the new $80,000 truck until I sell my old $50,000 truck, right?
Right.
And so that's what, and by this way, this senior living industry, they say, they push them out the door. They spend millions of dollars a month to get people to come do tours, only to push them right back out the door and say, go talk to a real estate agent. And when you guys figure that out, please come back and see us.
Welcome to the How to Scale Commercial Real Estate Show. Whether you are an active or passive investor, we'll teach you how to scale your real estate investing business into something big.
Phillip Vincent has been in the real estate business for 25 years, but he found his niche working with the senior living industry and helping families as they transition. Phillip, welcome to the show.
Sam, thank you for having me on here.
Absolutely. The pleasure's mine, Phillip. There are 3 questions I ask every guest who comes on the show in 90 seconds or less. Can you tell me, where did you start? Where are you now? And how did you get there?
Sure. Where did I start? I started in this business backwards. I started off building new houses when I was 20 years old. And so I just started off in development. I worked my way back to being a wholesaler. And so most people do the exact opposite. They want to be a wholesaler and work their way into those bigger things. And I just found my personality. I didn't like the timelines of those new creation of permits and dealing with cities and all their inspectors and all those things. And all of that was because I like to pick out the colors. And so I'm not a home builder anymore. I don't consider myself one. I'm really more of a connector of people, a lead aggregator, if you will. And I'm excited to talk about with you, with everyone listening today, about what we do.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to give our listeners here a quick preface, this show is 99.9% of the time focused on commercial real estate, but I think this will be a fun conversation for us here today, Phillip, because you're going to give us some insights on how to scale maybe something on the single family residence side of thing, which people always tell us. They say you can't scale single family, and I there's some exceptions to that, obviously.
Yeah.
But anyway, before I steal all of your thunder, I just want to kind of put that preview in there that, hey, we're going to talk about something different today. I'm excited about it. I know you're excited about it. So let's kick it off. What do you do now that you told us initially you've gone from X, or you've gone from Z back to A, I guess. What do you do now in the wholesale side of your business?
Yeah. And so, I won't bore you guys with the whole I've been in real estate for 25 years story, but in that, I've always been looking for, where are the best leads coming from? Where are the best leads? If me and you were having a beer right now, we would talk about, where are we getting our leads from? Where do we procure this stuff? Where does the leads happen? And I was like everybody else in, the 2008 and 9 downturn. I was looking at REO properties or bank-owned properties, like everyone was. Even to this day, people are like, oh, you buy foreclosures? No, not at all. Hardly ever do I buy a foreclosure. And in 2011, I discovered what seems so obvious when I explain it to you guys. It's kind of like when peanut butter met chocolate. It was like, well, yeah, of course that's who's selling their house. So I want you guys, if you buy single family houses, if you're not driving, close your eyes and tell me, what was the average age of the last 5 houses you bought? Were they 28 years old or were they 82 years old? And almost everybody's like, oh yeah, I buy houses from seniors all the time. And I said, yeah. And what's usually happening in their lives that makes them need to sell their house? And guys, people are like, oh, this is like probate. Well, this is before that. This is in front of that. And people are like, what a great little niche you have there. And I said, well, let's talk about the numbers. For all my numbers people out there, it's 7 out of 10 Americans over the age of 65 will live in assisted care before they pass away. 7 out of 10. And there's 10,000 people turning 65 every day. Just because I've been doing senior living since 2011, no one listening right now is behind. Right now, this year that we're in, 2023, is the first year of the oldest boomers starting to go into senior living. So we have what's called in the industry a silver tsunami that's so big that's coming. Our own government doesn't know what to do. They're scared. We should all be scared. It's the first time ever, too, that we have more over 65-year-olds in our country than we do under 18. Well, guys, that's not good for our gross domestic product and for just the weight on the system. It's assuming what does a tsunami do? They're going to live in this care, and everybody says they're going to wait for their inheritance. You're not probably going to inherit your parents' house. They're going to need to sell that house to pay for their care, because care is going up and people are living longer. And so what I teach people to do, was a long story to how to get to what I do. I connect people that are moving their moms or dads into senior living. That is the flashpoint of when they say, man, we need to sell the house because the place, I always say, Sam, if you and I are brothers and we go to pick out a place, do we pick out the cheapest one for mom? Or of course we pick the nicest one. It's our mother. Of course we pick out the nicest one. And she's got a pension of $2,800 a month. The place we picked out $6,000 a month. And I look at you, Sam, and say, you're my more affluent brother, Sam. So can you pay that $3,300 a month difference? And you say,
no.
or you say, yeah, I'll do it for a month, but dude, then we gotta
sell the house, right?
Instantly. And then what do? We go, man, I don't live in town where mom lives. You don't live in town where mom lives. And that's the house she's lived in for 40 or 50 years.
Right.
And so everybody calls a real estate agent. Let me give you guys a good analogy of what this industry is. Senior living industry is like a car dealership that does not buy the trade-in. So they sell cars all day long. They sell them, but they don't buy the trade-in. And what's happening is, think about the car dealership industry. If they stopped buying trades today, would people stop buying new cars? No. Would it slow the whole dang process down tremendously?
Yes.
Yeah, because I can't buy the new $80,000 truck until I sell my old $50,000 truck. Right?
Right.
And so that's what. And by this way, this senior living industry, they say they push them out the door. They spend millions of dollars a month to get people to come do tours, only to push them right back out the door and say, go talk to a real estate agent. And when you guys figure that out, please come back and see us. Well, what a broken process that is, because with real estate agent, and by the way, I am a real estate agent. I have my license and I'm an investor. So if you guys are listening right now, you can be an investor and a real estate agent, but it's not how you show up in senior living. I show up as a senior transition specialist. I'm there to meet the family at their level, unlock the equity out of their home, help them with the stuff, help them with their VA benefits, help them with placement agencies. We work with all the big placement agencies. There's people out there that are in their lane in senior living. And if you and I are brothers, it's a very traumatic time. Families that get along, Sam, don't get along during this process. They just don't. It's just hard because no one wants to think their mom is getting older. I always say you never take a healthy mom to senior living. You wouldn't do that. There's something going on. It's usually a fall. And so mom's house was designed to ease that burden for the adult children moving their parents into senior living.
Got it. So tell me all the things that you do there again, because I'm not sure. In my mind, I had this as very simple. I said, all right, cool. Somehow you're finding, which we didn't quite get to that yet, I don't think, but you're finding the leads as those people are moving to senior living. You're getting the house under contract and you're selling that off. Is that
Sure. That's a simple way to say it. That is what we do. And I would say what lives before that is empathy. We always say we're in the hugs and kisses business. If you're very, very transactional, this is not for you. Right. Because senior living will chew you up and spit you out. And so if you do have love and can lead with love, senior living wants you to help them. My students nationwide always laugh when they start going out and networking with the right people, because I teach my students how to actually build relationships with people in senior living that are giving those families that hard advice at that hard time. Because we always call her daughter Judy, by the way, the adult child that's helping mom we call her daughter Judy. Finding daughter Judy on her own is hard because a lot of times the average is 400 miles away from their parents. Wow. So that's a fragmented list. And so what we do is we actually work in the senior living industry. And you asked me, what were those again? There was VA aid and attendance benefits, downsizing companies, placement agencies, elder care attorneys. Of course, the house is what we specialize in. But we all stay in our lane and we go in a holistic approach to help this family. Sometimes they need all of our services. Sometimes they need one of our services. But the idea is we lead with love, help them where we can. And what's right behind doing this is getting the chance to buy a lot of real estate.
So how do you acquire and or find these candidates? Like there's got to be a way that you identify those potential people to work with.
Yeah. So I call them favor coupons. All those people I just named, we have a family referral network where we all bring those families to the table and say, hey, this person needs this. And so I'm actually part of the senior living sales process. I'm part of the CRMs that are in senior living. So if me and you took mom to go see ABC Senior Living, we end up in the CRM and they'll ask us how we plan on paying for care. And we'll say, oh, we're going to need to sell that house. And they say, oh, we've got a free resource called Mom's House. Would you like for them to come out and take a look and make a no obligation offer? They can help with the house and the stuff. And we say, of course, why not? I got to fly back to town anyway here soon. I would love to get this taken care of. And, when we met with that real estate agent, they said we had to clean the place out, the forever home, and do the rehab items so we could get that. What's that magic word? Top dollar. I love that word because everybody wants top dollar. I want it. You want it. We all want it. And we use tools like, and anyone listening, guys, this is gold. I'm going to give you gold right now. the cost versus value guide. If you Google cost versus value guide, Sam, if you put a $15,000 deck on your house, it cost you 15 grand. How much value did you add to your house? You want to guess?
As much as I value as I find in enjoying the deck.
There, well, that's good. I like that. And by the way, that is the right answer. But they actually put numbers against it. It's about 63 cents on the dollar.
Okay.
So you lose 6-7 grand.
Right.
And so imagine our mom's house. It doesn't need one thing. It needs 14 things.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Right. And so, and by the way, every item is that way. Everybody's like, what about the kitchen? Kitchen's one of the worst. It's one of the most expensive rooms. And it's one that you get the least amount of value back. And so what you'll find is these families are going, well, hold on. Well, if I rehab it the way the real estate agent said, and by the way, guys, it's hard enough to rehab in your own towns. Imagine trying to now rehab a house across the 400 miles away where your mom lives. Do you think you're going to get a good deal from the contractors? No.
No.
No, of course
and you
not.
have kids and you work a full-time job. Oh, and
Thank
by
you.
the way, let's go back to 400 miles away again.
Yep. And daughter Judy's married and her
Right.
needy husband's like, can we get back to our normal lives? Brother, I see the weight come off their shoulders all the time. By the way, I haven't said the F word yet. Fulfillment. Being part of mom's house, buying real estate this way is the fulfilling way to do real estate. If you've been saying, I don't want to do bandit signs, I don't want to do cold calling, I don't want to do text message blasting, it's because it's all that stuff is cheesy.
Right.
And a lot of people, and by the way, I've done all those things. So I'm telling on myself here, I've done those things in the past until I found this where I'm like, man, I get to do something good in the world. I get to buy real estate. And it's reoccurring too. That's the cool thing. When you build relationships like I have with the right people, I'm a tool for them. So if you're a placement agent or an elder care attorney, you need that house to sell to open up those funds so they can get to where they're going.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's really cool. Yeah, that's a great. I mean, that's a much warmer conversation on for you. You're not going in as the typical. And I've wholesaled some deals over the years, and it's like, there's just a different approach to it when you're going in there knowing you're going to wholesale it versus like, because you just go in and you're trying to get the contract and then get the contract and then go sell it to your buddy down the street. Like that's a different deal than like, hey, we're going to come in and actually help you guys get everything you need out of this and get it done fast and really serve the customer there in the end as well. So I think that's probably the difference in what you're doing.
I like to think of it as I'm sitting on the same side of the table as them and we're looking at the options together.
Right.
And when I clearly show them all their options, whether it's to go down that route of rehabbing and listing retail, I want to show them that. And what I found is, Sam, when they show them it honestly, they're like, I didn't want to do that anyway, nor do I know where the money's going to come from. Remember the analogy I said, if mom's pension's $2,800 a month and the place we put her in $6 grand a month, well, we're running up this bill over at the community. Where's the $38,000 going to come from for the rehab? Is that also from Sam? Because come on, Sam, put the money in and we'll get it back. I mean, and then does that make you in charge of the rehab now? Do you pick out, is it 3-tab shingles or architectural shingles or what brand of hot water? People don't have time for this, right? And by the way, if they wanted to rehab it, Sam, they would have never called me. That's how I look at it. They would already rehab it. If the family really wanted, or if they wanted to keep it in the family, they would have already done that. They'd never be in my web. But when they do, they're saying, I don't want to go that retail route. I want this other option. And that's how Mom's House was born.
How scalable is what you do? I mean, do you guys work nationwide? What's your
We are nationwide.
market? Okay.
Yeah. And so by the way, if you're that person who runs a big business, like a big wholesaling or rehabbing business, this is for you. And what I mean is I'm going to teach you, we use the analogy of the crock pot and the vase. And so most real estate investors are crock pots. We're a little utilitarian. We're not pretty. We just get it done. Like you said, we come in brute force and we simmer all day long.
Right.
And right. That's most people probably listening right now, if I'm being stereotypical. I will teach you how to hire the vase in your town that's already known, liked, and trusted by everyone in senior living. And they will go procure your relationships. You get to stay the real estate investor. So that is infinitely scalable because I used to try to 2 years ago, try to teach crockpots to be more vase-like, and it just doesn't work.
What do you mean when you say vase?
Vase means, what's a vase? It's beautiful. It's you have to caress it. It's more caring. You know what I mean? It's something that you have to treat nicer,
right?
Than a crock pot. I'm going to bang a crock pot around, but a vase, oh man, I'm going to hold that differently. And so we use that analogy of like who we are as humans. And so I'm more of a crock pot by nature. And so I had to become more like a vase when I worked in the senior living because it's not brute force.
Right. Right.
And so if you are a person that wants to scale this business, it probably won't be you scaling the networking. I'll teach
Mhm.
you how to find that vase who's in your town. If you live in Tulsa, I'll find that person that's already in Tulsa that's already been there might be a social worker, they probably already have been working in senior living.
Got it. Got it. You'll find that person that already has the connections in place that you need. And in the end, I mean, is the ultimate goal then, I guess, once you've done and what do you do with the contents? I mean, this is something actually a family member of mine was buying an auction company, and they're like, dude, the amount of real estate and contents that come through these, same idea as what you're talking about, different
Yeah.
sides of it. I mean, you certainly have to work alongside of estate sales and people like that. I mean, because estate sales happen, long before people die, much of the time, I would think.
If they're downsizing, that's true.
Yeah.
But if they're moving into senior living, they're going to go from on average a 2,000 square foot house with maybe a basement filled with things, and they're going to move into a 350 square foot apartment, a condo. They have 95% too much stuff, and so
Right.
to answer your question, the stuff can be trickier than the house.
Yeah.
And I teach all my students to not get in the stuff business. I know like American Pickers and Pawn Stars, all these shows make it look fun to be in the stuff business. I don't want to be in the stuff business. I'll end up being a hoarder if I do that. And so there's not a lot of money in it. And so what I do is I freely refer those out to other people that are in that business. And I wanted to talk about estate sales for just a second.
Sure.
Everyone has treasures down to trash. We all do in our houses.
Sure.
I hate the J word. I don't like to say junk, but we have treasures down to trash. And depending on how the family meets me is how I help them. If they think everything's worth $1 million, I'm going to have to go find a guy that collects salt and pepper shaker collections, because I'll be damned if dad didn't have all the salt and pepper shakers in the world, right? Or Beanie Babies or whatever it might be.
Oh,
And so the estate sale, what I wanted to say to you is that I've got a butt for every saddle, meaning if you have super high end stuff, I know who to call. If you have regular stuff, I know who to call. If you have just needs to be cleaned out, I know who to call. There's not one answer for stuff. It's multiple skilled people in your markets, in your vendors packet, your credibility packet, we call it. And so I want to give you guys a stat that can be scary and shocking. In St. Louis, the average estate sale cost, the revenue created by putting the sale on, like how much all the stuff sells for, is between $3,000 and $5,000. That's what that's how much all the stuff sells for.
the gross sale,
Gross sales. What do you think it costs to put the sale on, Sam?
$3,000.
$3,000 to $5,000.
Right. Wow. Now that is everything from the 75,000 to the $7.5 million home. That is.
Yeah. And here's why. There's not that many $7.5 million homes.
I know. I'm just trying to be.
Yeah, there was a company that came in and said, we're only going to do estate sales 15 grand and above. Well, that was 0.01% of the market. So they went out of business. They raised 50 million and they were called Everything But the House, and they went out of business because they were saying, we don't want 99.9% of the market that has way, way, way less stuff.
Right.
And it's, you can't even give stuff away right now. You're like your relative was talking about. Today's adults or children, like in their 20s, moving into they don't want grandma's old bedroom set, even though it's probably better than what they'd buy at IKEA. You can't give the china away. They can't put it in the dishwasher. They don't even want it.
Right.
And so stuff is very hard. We help them with the stuff because the better we help with the stuff, the easier it is for them to move into the community.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. We used to buy, we did the foreclosure circuit like you were talking about there early on. And that, even then when we would buy the house, we'd walk in, it's full of stuff. I would just call the local thrift store or whoever, and they would just send a truck out. I mean, they'd clean out appliances, the whole shooting match. It was like, I'm not messing with a house full of stuff, which was really sad to see, I guess, in that situation. Houses full of stuff, just
lots of pictures, right? You see, it's like, who's going to take your pictures?
I wish you'd tell my wife that. We got boxes of photos still. I'm like, why do we still have these? Can we scan these in? But I digress. This is really interesting, Phillip. I love what you're doing. I like the approach that you're taking. It is definitely nuanced, but it also serves. I think that's the cool part about what you're doing. You're not just, again, there's nothing wrong with making a buck. I served a lot of people, even when we bought and sold wholesale houses, that they were in a pinch. They wanted it out. They needed money. They needed it like then. And so we bought it and they moved on. But it was very transactional, I think, as you said. And I think that's what sets apart what you're doing in that, like you said, you're sitting on both sides of the table. And I really like the way that you acquire these clients of yours too. I think that's really cool because I mean, it's not direct mail cold call. It's not the bandit signs. It's not, Google ads. It's none of the normal channels in order to find a very motivated seller. I mean, in this case, this is a highly motivated seller. It's like, we need to get this done. We need to do it now. And we don't have time to monkey around with it. So I think that's very, very fascinating.
Your whole life changes when you only work with people that raise their hand and said, I need to sell my house.
Right.
Instead of like trying, what is direct mail? It's basically spraying and praying, right?
Mhm.
And I like direct mail. I'm not against direct mail. I'm just saying, why, if you think about it, why are you mailing to people over 65, have lived there 20 years and have equity? Why are we mailing to that list, right? That's a pretty common one. Well,
Right.
It's because you're waiting for them to say, oh, now's the time. And my whole business is they've already raised their hand and said, there's probably about 10 reasons why these are the best leads. And number one is I don't have to convince them of motivation at all.
Right.
They had it before they ever got to me.
Right. Yeah. No, that's very, very cool. Phillip, is there anything else that you want to talk about today that I haven't covered? Thoughts about your business, thoughts about your approach, anything on that front that we should chat about before we wrap this up?
It's a bold statement, but if you don't take this seriously and you are a person that buys single family houses, you will be buying houses from someone else that did over the next 15 years. That's how big this wave is. And the senior living industry doesn't know it, but they're the best real estate lead source that's out there. And I'm shining a big bright light on it. So I'm on here today talking to people. And if you're a person that wants to buy single family homes in perpetuity,
right,
at least the next 15 years as this wave comes through, a once in a lifetime wave, take this very seriously. And so I'm looking for some of you that are listening, not all of us. Some of us are too transactional. And so for those right people that say, hey, I think I'm going to be good for this. I love my power couples, where like he's a nurse and she's been doing real estate on the side. Like those are my favorite people because they get this whole thing. One's a crockpot, one's a vase. They're like, oh, we can do this. And so it's fun to have people like that in our program.
Absolutely. Phillip, thank you for taking the time to come on today. If our listeners want to get in touch with you or learn more about you, what is the best way to do that?
Yeah. For anyone who wants to learn more about this, just go to momshouse.com /Sam, SAM, momshouse.com /Sam, SAM.
Awesome. Well, thank you for using my name there. Here to tag the listeners on the show. Certainly appreciate that. Thank you very much, Phillip. Anything else we can do for you, please let us know. And thank you again for your time.
Thank you, guys.
Hey, thanks for listening to the How to Scale Commercial Real Estate podcast. If you can do me a favor and subscribe and leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, whatever platform it is you use to listen, if you can do that for us, that would be a fantastic help to the show. It helps us both attract new listeners as well as rank higher on those directories. So appreciate you listening. Thanks so much and hope to catch you on the next episode.